The night was unusually cold, the kind of cold that makes even the bravest hurry home. But he wasn't hurrying, he was closing his small repair shop late as usual when he heard footsteps, soft, trembling, hesitant. When he turned, he saw a girl, barely holding herself up, her clothes covered in dust, her eyes red as if she had been crying for hours. She staggered toward him with fear dripping from every movement. Before he could ask anything, she whispered with a shaking voice, "Please, don't let them find me." It wasn't a simple request, it was a cry for survival. And something inside him told him that whatever she was running from was real, dangerous, and close. He didn't ask questions. Something about the way she looked, broken, terrified, desperate, made him act before thinking. He quickly unlocked his shop again, gently pulled her inside, and closed the shutter halfway to hide her from sight. She was trembling so violently that he brought a chair for her, wrapped his old jacket around her shoulders, and offered water. She gulped it down as if she hadn't had a drop in days. The silence between them was heavy, but he didn't push her to talk. Instead, he waited, giving her the space to breathe again. Slowly, tears trickled down her cheeks, and she whispered, "Thank you, for stopping." He didn't know it yet, but this one act of kindness would change both their lives forever. Minutes passed before she could speak again. When she finally did, her voice cracked with every word, as if reliving the story hurt more than the memories themselves. She explained that she had run away from people who controlled her life, people who didn't allow her to breathe freely. They monitored her, restricted her, punished her. And when she finally tried to escape, they came after her, the very same night she reached his shop. That's why her voice carried so much fear when she said, "Don't let them find me." She wasn't hiding from a mistake, she was hiding for her life. And he listened without interrupting, because he could sense how much courage it took for her to say even this much. He could see that she hadn't eaten properly in days. So, without asking, he brought her a plate of rice and vegetables from his lunchbox. She stared at it as if unsure if she was allowed to eat. When he nodded gently, she took small bites at first, then bigger ones, as hunger overpowered hesitation. Watching her eat, he realized how deeply she had suffered, how long she had endured without basic kindness. That night, he didn't just see a frightened girl, he saw someone who had been denied warmth, safety, and simple humanity. And though he didn't know her name yet, he silently promised himself that he wouldn't let her go back to that life. After she finished eating, she became suddenly alert, her head snapping toward the door whenever footsteps echoed outside. He noticed the panic in her eyes and lowered the shutter completely, dimming the lights. "You're safe here," he whispered. She shook her head and murmured, "Nobody can keep me safe." But he wasn't convinced. He told her that sometimes all a person needs is a place to rest, a moment to breathe, and a chance to rebuild. And tonight, that place was his shop. She looked at him with disbelief, as if kindness from a stranger was something she had forgotten existed. He asked only one question, "What's your name?" She hesitated, wiping tears from her cheeks, before whispering, "Ayla." Her voice was small, fragile, almost childlike. He introduced himself and reassured her again that she could stay as long as she needed. She tried to protest, saying she didn't want to cause trouble, but he shook his head. "You're not trouble, you're someone who needs help." Her lips trembled, not out of fear this time, but because no one had spoken to her like that in years. For the first time, she felt the faint spark of hope. Hours passed, and exhaustion pulled her eyelids down. Seeing her struggle to stay awake, he placed an old blanket on the shop's small sofa and encouraged her to lie down. She hesitated again, almost as if she expected him to change his mind or ask for something in return. But he simply turned away, giving her privacy. When she finally lay down, she clutched the blanket tightly, as though afraid it would be taken from her. Within minutes, she fell into the deepest sleep she'd had in years, safe, warm, and unchased. While she slept, he stayed awake. He sat by the shutter, listening for any strange noises, alert to every sound outside. He had no idea who might come looking for her or how dangerous they could be. But one thing was clear, he wasn't letting anyone take her back. Not tonight, not ever. There was something about her strength hidden beneath all that fear, something that made him want to protect her even more. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he had a purpose beyond his everyday routine. Morning light seeped into the shop, and Ayla woke up with confusion, as if she couldn't believe she was still safe. When she sat up, she saw him asleep in the chair near the shutter, still keeping guard even after exhaustion claimed him. The sight made her chest tighten with emotion. No one had ever stayed awake to protect her. No one had ever cared enough. She covered him with the blanket he had given her, her eyes softening. For a moment, she felt something unfamiliar but comforting, gratitude mixed with trust. When he woke up, she apologized for taking his blanket and space. He smiled and said she didn't owe him anything. She told him more about her past, about the people who used fear to control her, who treated her like property rather than a person. She expected him to judge her or tell her to go back. Instead, he said calmly, "Everyone deserves a new beginning." Those words hit her harder than any cruelty she had endured, because they carried the weight of sincerity she thought she would never hear again. He contacted a friend who worked with community shelters, asking if there was a safe place for Ayla. The friend agreed to help but emphasized it might take time to arrange things quietly. Until then, she would need to stay hidden. When he told Ayla this, she panicked again, worried she would bring danger to his life. But he assured her that helping her wasn't a burden, it was the right thing to do. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe she wasn't alone anymore. Days passed, and Ayla began to heal slowly. She helped around the shop, cleaning, organizing tools, and sometimes sitting outside to feel the sun again when it was safe. He noticed how her fear gradually softened into calmness, how her silence slowly broke into small smiles. They didn't talk about her past unless she wanted to. He focused on giving her a sense of normalcy. And she realized that this simple repair shop, with its rusty tools and dusty counters, felt more like home than any place she had ever lived. One evening, she said softly, "If you hadn't found me that night, I don't know if I'd still be alive." He didn't know how to respond. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't rich or powerful. He was just someone who chose kindness when it mattered. But hearing her say that, he understood how deeply she had trusted him. And he promised again, this time out loud, that he would never let anyone hurt her again. She believed him, not because of his words, but because of everything he had done without expecting anything in return. His friend finally arranged a safe identity, a place for her to start over, and a protective network that would ensure she wouldn't be found again. When Ayla heard this, she cried, not from fear, but from relief. He helped her pack a small bag, and when she looked in the mirror, she no longer saw the terrified girl from that night. She saw someone reborn, someone who had survived. And she owed it not to escape alone, but to the stranger who chose compassion. Before she left, she hugged him tightly, her voice steady for the first time. "You gave me a new life," she whispered. He held back tears as he replied, "You just needed a place to begin again." She walked away with a new name, a new future, and a heart finally free from fear. And though she left, the memory of her whisper, the night she said, "Please don't let them find me," stayed with him forever. Because on that night, he didn't just save someone, he helped them live again.